Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone to Premier League Survivor Season 3. And let's be honest, it's going to be a brutal season for the three teams that are coming up from the championship. Why? Because the last two seasons has been pretty brutal for the teams. Let me just explain. So, in this beautiful notes that I have, the last two seasons of the three teams that come up from the championship turns out to be the three teams that go down. And if you look at the statistical anomaly, it is not great. It's not great. So 2023, 2024, you got Luton Town, the small club with a small stadium, being in the Premier League. Unfortunately, got absolutely bounced. Then you got Burnley with Vincent Company back in the den. And then you got Sheffield United, who were woeful. Absolutely woeful. Not as woeful as the season, as next season, but woeful in their sense. By the way, how woeful? 104 goals conceded. They become the first ever Premier League team to concede 100 goals in a Premier League season. 104 goals. And the goal difference is not nice at all. That's not a nice goal difference at all. So, yeah, you tally up the points. By the way, Luton Town has 26 points, Burnley 24, Sheffield United on a paltry 16 points. And then you combine the goals for and the goals against and all kind of stuff, and then you wind up with an average total from all three teams of 33 points, with an average goals for and against of 37 to 161. Now, if you manage to do that, that will be a total of what? 130 minus 136? Yeah, minus 136. I think you could say that Sheffield United is pretty much the reason why this anomaly exists, including Burnley. And Burnley has the most goals by all three teams, and they were into most of the games. I feel like there's one game that pretty much hurt Luton Town so much. The one game that hurt them was the Arsenal game in which they were leading, and then it got absolutely bumped in like the 90th minute or such. So it's not like Luton are bad at anything. They did try. They scored 52 goals, but the 85 goals conceded, it just really hurts them. Burnley, they're okay. I think this was Vincent Kompany's first season after dominating the championship, or is it Sean Dyche? Let me just look. 2022. Okay, nope. 2023, 2024 season. Let's see who's the manager of that Burnley team. I think was it Vincent Kompany was the manager of the team. Let's see. Yep, it was Vincent Kompany. And by the way, his team used to make the championship an absolute joke last season. Let's just compare that. In 2022-2023, Burnley, by the way, if you look at the table down below, have 87 goals and 35 against for 101 points. 101 points at that championship, en route to winning that championship and securing promotion. They finished the Premier League season with 24 points and only 24 goals and conceded 41. In fact, they have conceded more goals in that Premier League season than they have the entire championship combined. And you talk about 46 game season compared to like the 38 grind and toil of the Premier League. And I think I'll get that to it later, but that pretty much speaks to how big the gap between the championship and the Premier League by all measures of accounts. So yeah, Burnley got absolutely bombed by Vincent Kompany. No surprise there. And the average is pretty much says a lot, and the goal difference says a lot. And the total record for these teams are 13 wins, 24 draws, and 72 losses. Abysmal. And the gap from 17th was only 6 points. But that was, of course, helped by Nottingham Forest because of the whole, PSR situation, and they kind of deduct points because of this whole situation. So you can just say that the 6 points is kind of like a mirage in some of the people. By the way, the 33 points that already accumulated by all three teams in this season's Premier, and I think this season's Premier League. Let's see. In last season's Premier League, let's say last season's Premier League exists. Those 33 points. I'll come back. It will load in just a minute. That 33 points in last season's Premier League would have gotten you pretty much nowhere. You would still be relegated, but if it wasn't for if it wasn't for how bad the bottom three were, and we'll get to how bad the bottom three were last season later on, we would have talked about like Tottenham. Hell, we would have talked about my team being in the relegation zone, to be honest. So it goes to show you how really bad that season's relegation were. But if you think that relegation season was bad, oh boy, it does not compare to the abysmal relegation three that we have between Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton. To the numbers we go, and Leicester City have 25 points. It was a pretty much a lost season. I mean, they even have Ruud van Nistelrooy as manager for some time, and it did not work out. It did not work out, to say the least. Ipswich, they did try, of course. 36 goals scored. They did okay. I'm not saying I think Ipswich is not the bad of the three teams, to be honest. And also Ipswich kind of like promoted twice back to back for the first time in like 21 years. And of course, they got their manager, who's still the manager of the team, by the way, in McKinnon. So it's not like Ipswich have high expectations to do well this season. They were kind of like nobody was expecting them to promoted out of the championship against team with so higher budgets and higher stuff. So the fact that Ipswich even got promoted was even a surprise to them. And unfortunately, they did not do well in the Premier League to justify much. So they're horrible. Not as horrible as the Southampton Saints. Let's just give you a kicker. If it wasn't for Manchester City drawing with Southampton, they would have been in the exact same situation as a Derby County with 11 points. That means Southampton dodged the absolute bullet of becoming the worst Premier League team in terms of points in the history of the football of the 100+ years of football league, or the 33 years of now the Premier League right now. It would have been an embarrassment to the team and the club. And by the way, it was over before even done. In fact, the relegation has been already sealed from like around April, which is like the most games that all three relegated teams that have been relegated in a long time. So that's how really bad this relegation has been. And the points said no, and the points are pretty much not lie as well. 20 points average, down to 13 from last season, 78 goals, and then 83 conceded, which is okay. It's not bad. At least they're scoring goals. It's not as horrible as last season, but the total record speaks to itself. 12 wins, 23 draws. That's bad. But 79 defeats? Not good enough. Not good enough. And the gap from 17th was 13 points, which is Tottenham, by the way. By the way, 20 points will not even get you out of the relegation zone, to be honest. It will be better than Southampton, but it will not get you out of the relegation zone. In fact, if you may, it might get you like, I don't know, 18 to the championship or something. So yeah, the last two seasons for the promoted teams have not been kind to them. And unfortunately, this season, it will not be kind to the three teams that are going up in Leeds, Sunderland, and Burnley. Now, feast your eyes on the Opta supercomputer that has been uploaded, of course, a couple of days ago to give you a rough model. These are just some numbers and all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to get to all that jazz to all you nerdy people. But simply put, those three teams at the bottom is not going to stand a chance. You got Sunderland in a way lower positions, 35.1% to even be in the 20th position. Leeds and Burnley being the same thing. But all three teams are pretty much at the point of occupying the relegation zone. So the optimism between all these three teams are not as great as many people thought to be. Now, what are the three things that all three teams have to do in order to survive in the Premier League? Well, let's just be honest. They gotta be pragmatic. I'm sorry. Listen, let's be honest. Right off the bat, if you're playing the same style from the Championship to the Premier League, you are never going to survive in the Premier League, as we've shown from what Burnley last season does. And if you're gonna go further, let's go to last season. Let's go to last season's Championship. To be honest, to show how really, really bad, that's just know how really jaw dropping the situation is. So I believe Leicester City won the Premier League title, won the championship with 97 points and 89 goals scored. Hell, Ipswich, who finished second, finished at 92 points with 92 points. That's okay and dandy and all kinds of stuff, but at the same time, it's like That's not going to cut it in the Premier League football. And the quality is big. The distribution of revenue is big. The level is going to be big. So you're not going to go out there and just like gun ho your way to the Premier League, although it might be fun for the neutrals and all kind of stuff. It will not be fun for all the other teams to do it, and especially you to like, be a little bit open and be a little bit more freedom in order to you for winning. So you got to have to feel like pragmatism is pretty much the way to go. It may not be best for all of you guys, it may not be great for the neutrals, but it will get you wins. And that is the most important thing. You look at what happened to Brentford a couple of years ago. Their first couple of seasons, it's kind of like, hey, we need to survive. If we have to play bad football and survive, so be it. But they did, and they now been stabilized into probably one of the most stabilized teams in all the Premier League. So, I think it might happen. I think pragmatism has to come in the forefront of some of the teams. It may not be great for some of the neutrals, but you know what? You got to get wins. No matter how bad you want them, no matter how ugly they are, wins are wins in today's world, especially in the grand scheme of things. I believe the second option is to continuity is important. Like Ipswich, of course, actually kept their manager for like the longest time, despite the fact Ipswich did not perform well in the Premier League and they were relegated. I think continuity is a huge and important. Now, if you look to attention to this year's Premier League, you got two managers who once upon a time used to be in the Premier League hierarchy. And that is Scott Parker, who used to coach for Fulham, and by the way, he used to coach to Belgium. By the way, he used to coach at Belgium, and then you got from Leeds Daniel Farke, who used to once upon a time coach Norwich City, and unfortunately for Norwich City, they had horrible days. They did not do well. He did okay, but they did not do well. And for little own, not okay. We got Leeds and Sunderland. Yes, we got Regis Lebre. Yeah, I do not know him that much. So you got two known quantities and an unknown one. Pretty much saying that they got the managers who knows the Premier League well, but it's a different atmosphere. It's a different game. It's a different kind of quality. Their tactics will be tested, not only for like the opening day, for that a couple of months. And if your teams are not cut it out in like the opening months of the Premier League season and not do well, guess what? You're off the island. Pretty simple. You're going to be gone in a couple of months. So I think and I believe that pragmatism and sustainability is going to be really, really key. Will I believe that all three teams will survive? No, I don't think so. It will take like one of these teams to do well and one of those bad teams to be awful. Maybe Wolverhampton, consider the circumstances right now. Maybe West Ham could be the other team that would fall off. Or let's go crazy. Let's call them my team. Let's call Manchester United being a relegation zone. I mean, why not? Let's go crazy here. But it might take one of these teams to do well this season and to do well tactically to make sure that they will not be in a situation like the last 2 years predates with the other relegation teams. I think it might happen, but crazy things that happen in football. So anyways, I got a Super Cup matchup in a couple of minutes between Tottenham and PSG at the time of recording this. So anyways, I will see you later and enjoy the Premier League, everybody. And hopefully I have another video coming soon. More statistical analysis by my boy, Mackie, of course. Anyways, catch you on